Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining me today. I'm going to do a reading and a talk. Yeah, it's been a little while since I've been on. One of the things that I'm noticing in this current energy is just this and it took me a while to realize what was going on. It's just this sort of like real void space type of energy. And I know that that's kind of common for this type of year to this time of year where like from like the holidays into the new year and kind of like the void and all that, but it's like this is just whole next level. And so I had, for the holidays, I had both of my kids here. Both they're older, 22 and almost 19, and so they were here. My son was here for an entire week, and we went like 6 years without him coming here at all. So them, and I think this is like the longest stretch we've had together in this house here, probably since I lost custody, just because things were so weird and there was like all kinds of control and stuff, but we're on the other side of all that. So anyway, we were all together for this holiday season, and it was like the first Christmas I've celebrated in a long time. And so there was a lot of, so what I was noticing is that there was like so much going on behind the scenes. And so that's kind of that void feeling where there wasn't like big clarity or big realizations or, how sometimes you're just like on the pulse and you can just like track everything. For me, it was like just completely invisible, but felt, we were doing a lot of things that were from the past or like memories or, my son reflecting on things and remembering things. And obviously there was a lot of like healing and repair and that kind of stuff going on. And I could feel it in the energy. But I thought, okay, well, once he leaves and once things kind of settle down, like I'll be able to like get more of a read of what's going on. And so, like the same day he left, I had like many hours to myself because my daughter went somewhere, and I was just like, I just felt like I was like just spinning in this void, and that went on and it went on and it went on. And finally I was like, oh, okay, so this isn't gonna be a time of clarity. What I actually think it is I think it's an embodiment. I think it's a deep repair and a deep coming together of that which has been separate. And I think there are indicators of that in many different ways. In the last reading, I think the last reading or two, I was talking about those like really deep roots of some of the, I would say it like what I'm understanding it as now is like the patterns that were developed around our fragmentation from ourselves, our fragmentation from our wholeness, like the split of our polarities, of course, which happened a long time ago before we even took birth onto this planet. You can track it back to galactic history and when that split happened in the wholeness of the truth of reality. But in our lifetimes, in this lifetime, there's when those patterns started taking hold, where you started abandoning your intuition or splitting in a way, fragmenting off in a way that left you susceptible to predatory energy or left you feeling that you didn't know what to do, and so you started looking outside of yourself. It's like, so a lot of us have been doing shadow work, a lot of heavy shadow work the last 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years, right? Okay, but what it felt like to me, and again, it's the onion thing where you can do a level, you can do a certain amount, and then you kind of stabilize and heal from that, and you kind of like what I always talk about with energy work. You do the clearing, and then the polarities rebalance. You have a new stable platform. You start attracting in from that new level of integration. You have new experiences, and then more will get kicked up, and you do another round, right? That's how we do it. Okay, so we do the layers and the layers, and it feels like a lot of us. And this I feel coincides, and this is a little bit of a recap from last week, but just a reminder, or in case you haven't seen it, as Atlas was approached, the interstellar being Atlas that was approached, it made its closest approach to Earth. It felt like right before that happened, there was a lot of stuff that was getting kicked up where we were able to see those kind of like the roots of that neural network of self-abandonment, so presenting in different ways. And at first I was observing other people, and it seemed like we were all kind of experiencing very different things, but then I realized the root of it was a self-abandonment and a lack of boundaries, whether that lack of boundaries or needing better boundaries was against the whether you're experiencing with the astral realm or the sort of darker elements in sort of an astral way, or whether it was in your very physical life with very physical things, or with people, so all these different versions of this sort of like invader energy. And I've talked about this several times in different readings, how when we expand or we up level into a new state of consciousness, I don't know if you've observed this in your own life. I've noticed that whenever I do that, there's like the goblins at the gate, I always call them, where there's like this whole like repetitive theme of boundary breaches. Or this time for me, it was like people sort of like projecting onto me, or and I've seen this with other people as well, or offering advice that I didn't ask for, or misunderstanding what I was saying and viewing it through a different lens, and then acting like they knew my path or me or what I was saying better than I did. And this kind of stuff where you're just like, wow, but it was like everywhere I looked, and I usually don't have that. And so I've been noticing that pretty consistently, to the point where I thought, wow, this is a really big expansion. This is a really big shift. And it really is. It really, really is. And I feel like we had a lot of that sort of like neural networking is the word that keeps coming up, those patterns of disassociation and abandonment, which of course are fractals and mirrors of our entire society. Our entire society is set up to distance our power, to separate us from our own inner knowing, to gaslight ourselves, and to question and to go to authorities, and all these things. So it's reinforced everywhere that we look. But finding our particular version of that self-abandonment, getting down to the roots. And so that was coming up in the last reading, where it could feel kind of overwhelming, like you were stuck and you were never going to get out of it, and you were going to fail at your mission, and all these things. But it's kind of that thing, like where I always say, the crazier the better, the darker the better, the more fear the better, because you know that you're on that threshold, you're on that Gandanta point where the compression of this seed that's cracking. So I know for a lot of people it's been really intense lately, which is actually a really good sign. I've said that to so many people in personal readings lately, where it's like, oh great, the worse you feel, like put some gasoline on that fire, then you'll really burn off those roots, and myself included. There were a few moments where I was just like, oh my gosh, like, oh my gosh. The other thing that's been going on for me, so this sort of like void space where you're not really having I feel it's shifting. I feel like today, maybe last night, like the last couple of days, there's been a little bit of like form taking hold, where I'm like, okay, I'm starting to see more clearly now. Things are starting to settle. But I was noticing that, like, I don't know if you experience this, whenever I'm going through a real integration phase or stabilizing in a new energy, I look weird. And it's almost, I'm like, oh, I'm caterpillaring again. Because when I look at myself, and I feel like I'm back now. But when I look at myself, it's like, it's almost like my face is like shape shifting, where I'm like, what the hell? Like, where I can't focus on myself, and I feel like my bones, or like like everything just keeps like moving around. It's really weird. It's like a spiritual sight, but I think like I don't know, I might not look any different to anybody else, but I feel like I do. I look weird. I look like in between. And even like I don't know, I have Taurus rising, so I love beauty, and I love aesthetics, and I love to like beautify my surroundings. So it's like myself and like my home and, creative projects and all these things. But like when I'm in a caterpillar zone, normally I can kind of like find clothing or colors that sort of match the energy that I'm in, and I can match the energy of the, I just like weave my physical with the energetic, and it's like super fun for me and grounding and anchoring energy. But when I'm in that space, it's like nothing fits, nothing works, nothing, I just end up being like, whatever, I'm just gonna wear my pajamas all day long and go to the co-op in my pajamas. And so it's weird, but again, just noticing these themes with the boundary breaches. Because again, it's like when you expand into a new level and you're in a new terrain, it's almost like you don't know where you're at. So you're a little bit vulnerable. You're a little susceptible to attack or to interference or to, and then of course everything's in service. So like it is a cosmic setup for you to be like, oh wait, hold on a minute. Because usually it'll be challenging the very things that you just got stronger in, or some sort of like clarity or a level of alignment with expansion. Or like for me, there was a lot that came in. I've been talking about this in the readings around creating our realities and paying attention to our thoughts, how we word things, what we're affirming and assuming and expecting, and noticing how my hologram of my life would immediately respond, right? So getting really, really good at harnessing the energy, knowing that our focus and our beliefs and our perspective creates, right? So then I started having a lot of like feedback on that, in a negative way, from people that were in that lack and limitation and victim, where, it's like, and for me, with the boundary thing, and I think a lot of us in this, a lot of you will be relating to this, in this patriarchal society, it's like we're conditioned to gaslight ourselves. We're conditioned to, if you're a little too positive or a little too visionary, then you're corralled back in to be a little smaller. So a lot of us have traumas around that. So that was one of the things that was happening for me. It was hitting those, like, you're not doing it right, like spectrumy wounds, where you're like, I didn't get that code. I don't know how to do that. I'm doing this other thing, and I'm here to do this other thing. So just leave me alone. Just trust me. Just you stay there if you want to, but keep it away from me, that kind of thing. And just getting stronger in your awakenings, because as we're awakening and we're remembering why we're here, we're remembering what we're doing here, and we're courageously stepping forward with those visionary sort of far out intuitions. Again, the balancing of our polarities, letting our masculine listen to our inner feminine, our soul, our intuition, rather than the rogue conditioning of the society, right? And then other people bringing that and, trying to, whatever, like subconsciously corral you in, but it strengthens, it strengthens your setter. At the same time, really having to have boundaries on that, boundaries and choosing your environments and choosing what you let in, and allowing those situations to strengthen you rather than diminish you, that type of thing, and everything being in service. So you might be relating to that. I've been going through a lot of that. Also, just very simple physical boundary breaches. I feel like a lot of the boundary stuff that I had been going through over the last several years was energetic and like psychic attack and, clearing my energy field. And I am doing that. I feel like at night, there's another round of that as well. Not psychic attack, but like I wake up in the middle of the night. And even though my days may have been filled with sort of like this, like real clear focus and like I was saying, that co-creation energy where you're really in your power, where it's just like the veils have come off, where you know that it's up to you, that it's your responsibility to word things and view things and believe in what you want to manifest, and then having it come through and all this. And then so I'd be having like a fabulous day of like magic and co-creation, and then I'd like wake up in the middle of the night and have all this like doom and dread, and it was just like I felt like, and I've been seeing this theme as well in sessions and in readings and stuff like that, where there's like this shadow that's sort of like standing in the way, right? And it's our own shadow, it's our own unintegrated parts, it's our own areas where we need to seal up and get our circuitry intact, so that just sealing up the energy leaks so that stuff can't get in. But it's at night that I'm seeing it, where so I've had to clear my energy or ask my higher self. Often in the middle of the night, I'm too tired, or I'm too like in it to be able to clear myself. So I have to externalize myself a bit and ask my higher self to clear me. And to clear me and to revoke any consent or any contracts I might have signed in my sleep accidentally. Like there's been a lot of that sort of like astral, sort of like behind the scenes cleanup lately for myself and others that I've spoken to as well. But in terms of, the boundaries, I feel like the last many years, there's been a lot of that, like a lot of boundaries with the fear programs, and a lot of boundaries in learning the terrain, the fourth dimensional terrain, and how to navigate and how to, not engage in actions or thoughts. There's the thoughts again, right? That perpetuate that and that attract more of that. So it's all like training and co-creation, really. Okay. But now the boundary stuff is, there's a little bit of that in the astral, but like really simple things like, like my daughter has this boyfriend, and he wears like, he doesn't wear cologne, thank God, but I will get to that. But he like washes his clothes in scented stuff, which I smell. He uses fabric softener, which is scented, and he uses dryer sheets, which are scented. And I was just dying. Like every time she'd come home, I'd be like, oh my God. So we got him to clean up. We got him to like get rid of all that stuff. It's like, if you're gonna date my daughter, you need to clean up, and like this is just the beginning. So just get used to this. But so then we finally get all that stuff cleared up. for the most part. And she comes home and she's wearing perfume. And I'm just like, what the hell? What are you doing? Like, we finally got rid of this because it was bothering her too. And she's like, oh, this doesn't give me a headache. And I'm like, well, it gives me a headache. And, I do like sessions and readings out of the home. And a lot of those people are something like, you just can't do it, and so it's just like kind of like that kind of stuff, like where it's real physical, but it's still like boundary breaches. I feel like everywhere I turn, I have to be setting these boundaries, and I'm seeing it in friends and people that I'm reading for as well, where it's just, we're all doing this right now. It's really, really up. It's really, really up. And a lot of it being like just getting us to really stand with our self-care and to stand with our inner alignment, where it's like, and that was the thing that I was saying in that other reading, like if we're here on mission and we're here to anchor and plant and represent this new energy that we came from, that we've been connected to our whole lives, and went through all the dark nights of the soul and all the sewer treks to crack open and remember through our access to our divinity, right? And to stand firm in that, like all of the things that we have done to come back to this knowing. And then having people just kind of be like, oh, well, you're just is like, oh my God, you want to walk in my shoes? You want to trek the darkness that I have trekked and then tell me that I'm just privileged for feeling this way? Like, wow, that kind of thing, right? But getting even stronger, like all of it just being, and knowing that if you are here to anchor this energy, then you really need to preserve yourself. And like, even like, I can't be leaking energy on detoxing chemicals in my home when I don't have to. I need to just set a boundary. And my daughter was like, yeah, I really need to move, like I just feel so cramped, and I don't, I'm like, go ahead, move, get a job, like pay for your own place, learn how to drive, like get your own groceries, do your own dishes, like then you can wear your perfume, like sayonara, that kind of thing, right? But knowing that like the preservation of our nervous systems, the preservation of our bodies, the preservation of our minds, what we let in, who we let in, what we engage in. We're not going to argue and debate and try to make somebody see something that they haven't gone through the initiations yet to see, or they're on a completely different path. It's like, you do your thing and I'll do my thing, and please don't come into my space to try to correct me or whatever it is. And if you do, I'm going to set a boundary, right? Like carving off that space so that we can be the solid containers to co-create this new earth reality. So I feel like there's a lot of that, and a lot of things that we may have put up with before because it was just easier and it didn't really matter that much, and kind of wanted to keep the peace. It's like, it's over, it's over. And even people that you really love and are close to, it's like, you just got to axe it, or axe it by speaking up, or getting that, like that goddess speak, that dragon speak, where you're just claiming it and you're throwing down that line, that whatever the analogy is, what is it from Lord of the Rings? What's his name? Gandalf. Thou shalt not pass. It's that important because we're on the brink of creating this new reality. And it's like, I feel like we've been so coded and infused through Atlas and whatever and other interstellar beings, frequencies, consciousness are in our galaxy right now. And it's like, it's in the water, it's in the earth, it's in our food, it's in our hair, it's in our, it's in our bodies, it's like we're osmosing it. So that's where I feel it connects with the void. Whereas it's not about activations right now. And it's not about kind of like adjusting and that type of thing. We're literally embodying this energy. It's like, so I was thinking of this analogy, rather than like stepping in the fire, we're getting into like the hot springs. You're like in the water, and you're just feeling you're feeling the water, and it's merging with you. It's interesting actually. Because you can see the patterns. If it's a collective pattern, you can see it everywhere that you look, and in lots of different people. And so another way that this played out is my friend and I, we hiked up to the top of this mountain in our area. It's called Bear Mountain. And it's like, it's such a powerful mountain. She's always had the sense that it was a honing device. And we did a reading on it just the other day, yesterday, I think. And it was like, it was like a honing device, but it held it seemed like such a partner to Atlas. Atlas atlas, which is also holding the frequency of integration and of unity and of things being together, right? Again, like what we were talking about, so this is all related. You can see it everywhere you look. Like what we're doing inside of ourselves, where we're going into those soul retrievals, into the root level, and bringing those pieces back online, where we have our wholeness. Again, we're living from our wholeness. We have insights that we didn't have before because we were living in duality, and we were living in distortion and in the program. So now we're a more clear beacon. Now we're getting attacked to seal off those boundaries, so that we have to strengthen us, right? So that we have our container to live in this new energy and to create from this new energy, so that we can anchor it for all, even those that are kind of, being flies, right? Okay. So anyway, my friend and I, so seeing that Bear, I'm saying so many things at once, is just how my mind, I'm multidimensional. So I got it at once. It's sometimes hard to get it all out, but thank you for enduring, for bearing in there with me. Okay, so Bear Mountain being that, it like held the energy, kind of channeled the energy of that higher information. So the town that I'm at is it's a very powerful town. I've mentioned this before. There's copper mines here, and there are a lot of, other like fluorite and amethyst and stuff like this, like just on the hills, like just up from where I live and all around and in the forest and all this. And so there's like a magnifying type of energy. So there's a lot of dark and light here. Somebody just murdered somebody the other day, or a rancher well, he wasn't really a rancher. He was actually a really brilliant, intelligent, like fantastic, unique alternative person. But he just like murdered his neighbor because they had some feud over whatever, and stuff like that, right? Like a lot of light and a lot of dark, combined. It's a medicine town. And so there's a lot of alchemy, a lot of stuff here. And so this mountain being part of that, it calls people in, but it also kind of like holds that energy. So anyway, we hiked up to the top of it, where many years ago she had just stumbled upon, probably because she was a part of the creation of it, but this old medicine wheel. So this is Apache land. So it would have been Apache. And I walked up to it, we went all up the mountain, and then we cut over and we went all along the animal trail, and we came up to the edge of the ridge, and there it was, and she had people with her before, kind of medicine people, and they, native type medicine people, and they were doing the directions, and it was all exactly right, and all this. And so I looked at it and I was like, I would never know that was a medicine wheel. Like I know other things. I don't know stuff like that. And I was just like, kind of like, cool. And she's like, let's get in it. So I got in it, and immediately, like, I felt this like energy rise up into my throat, and it was like this like burping. You know how like when you're, I don't know, I know some of you are like this, when energy's clearing through you, or for you, or for the environment through you, burping, this type of thing. And then I had this huge thing shoot up my head, which happens in energy sessions. And then I had this weird like toning in my ear that I had never felt before. It was almost like there was like a butterfly in there. And then I got dizzy, and I was like, whoa, oh my God, like I didn't know I was going to have any kind of reaction at all, because I wasn't feeling. I usually, I often feel stuff. Anyway, so then I just sat down. And while that was an initial reaction, the analogy that I'm making right now is then we sat in this medicine wheel, and we're not ceremonialists like her and I. We're just naturally connected. We just connect to our channel. We connect to all that is. We talk and we anchor and we ground, and it's like that purity and that appreciation and love in nature that is the alignment, right? That is the alignment, and is the clearing, and is the activation, and all of that. So it was nothing ceremonial, but we just sat in there, and we enjoyed each other, and we talked about all the things. And I was, receiving certain information. Like her and I are like puzzle pieces. We're kind of masculine and feminine in a way, like where I'm the sort of out there one, and she's more grounded and really good boundaries, and we just kind of pull things in and anchor it, right in nature. And so we were doing that in the medicine wheel, no big deal. But I felt like it's that hot springs analogy, where I felt like I was just sitting in the water, and I wasn't really feeling anything. I was just me, in that energy, and we hung out there, and then we hiked down the mountain, and we found this meadow, and we laid in the meadow, and the meadow also had this real kind of like heaven on earth type of energy. It was just like magnificent. It was so magnificent. Like something happened that day. But once I got home and I reflected on the energy of the meadow, which was very palpable for me, but I think I'm supposed to be talking about this because it feels a little off track, but it's definitely wanting to come out. And so, but the energy of the medicine wheel, when I reflected on that after I was home, I could feel how layered it was and how multidimensional and how there was absolutely like emerging and all this stuff going on behind the scenes, but none of it was visible to me until I got out of the energy and had time to reflect. And even that, it wasn't visible. It's just, I became aware that there was a lot going on. And so that's how things have been feeling to me, that there's just so much going on behind the scenes. And the dreams, I don't know if you're experiencing this, I've been having so many dreams and so many symbolic dreams. And I've been wrapping up reoccurring dreams that I've had for maybe my whole life, but definitely decades. They've been changing, and they've been coming to some sort of like purification. So there's definitely all this messaging of things going on behind the scenes, but also things wrapping up, like getting, just like I was saying, like getting to the roots of some of those, the neural networking is what I've been using for some of the our patterns of splitting on ourselves. Same thing with like how, like my dreams, like that was those reoccurring dreams were a reflection of that distortion, and now they're coming into harmony. So a lot of indicators that we're getting down to the dregs. And when you get down to the dregs, you often can't see it because it's down so low. It's so dark down there. That's the stuff that's the core that you couldn't get to until now. I feel like with all the support, with again the Atlas and the other whatever else is around, we're infused with it. We're integrating, we're acclimating with this energy, almost to the point where things are just kind of like falling off. They're resolving because we're merging with this energy. When this energies first started coming in, I know for me and others, there was a real nervous system registering of the energies that felt like panic or anxiety, or oh my gosh, what's going on? This is like a new thing in the field. Am I safe? And then it's like realizing like, oh yeah, this is for us. Let's get to know this. It's coming closer. It's coming closer. It hit Mars. It hit the sun. It hit Venus. Then it hit the earth, and it's like, it hit our masculine, it hit our feminine, it hit our solar, it hit our transmitter, and then it hit our planet, our home. And so, it's like, and whatever else that consciousness is pulling through, that it's transmitting to us. It's like, we're just in this phase right now where we're marinating. And so it's not really a void, it is a void, but what it really is embodiment and emerging with these energies. So I know that was a lot. I know I was talking on a lot of different levels, but it's all related with the boundaries, securing this new energy that we're achieving, the clearing of the trauma responses and the patterns around them that we couldn't get to before. Why? Because we're held, and we're integrating into the new system. So we're releasing the old, and before it's like we were releasing the old and we were kind of like viewing the new and bridging and this, but now it's like we're actually anchoring in the new. It's like we just might not know it yet because it's presenting in a different way. It's different than what we're used to, where we're registering it out here and we're bridging to it. It's like we're merging with it. The earth is merging with it. It's coming online. The new program is coming online. So I'm hearing this also in terms of the world, with like the new financial system and some of the new currency and all these things. And I haven't been following that stuff for a while because I've just been so focused on the inner and the boundaries and the ceiling and all this. But some of that stuff has been coming in, like on Facebook posts where like even people I didn't even know I was following, and I was like, oh my God, like I'm like, okay, I'm supposed to be seeing this right now. Also the things with like the new discoveries with I saw something today. We've been hearing about the new discoveries in Japan with like the teeth, and the regrowing of the teeth. Meanwhile, it's like the ancestors did that through frequency all along. So that's what this post was saying, like presenting things as like, oh, it's a new discovery, but it's really not. It's really ancient things that are coming back online. Okay, so a lot about this, right? So it's coming into our consciousness. It's coming into my consciousness as somebody who's just been like, put that on hold, do the inner work. All of that outer stuff is going to be a reflection of the inner work. I'm not going to distract or leak any of my energy on that. Now it's coming in as validation and proof. And so I feel like we're being shown, there it is again, that this new energy is starting to take hold. The new is starting to take hold, which gives us courage to just release the old, just to release. And when you wake up in the middle of the night and you might feel some weird, funky energy, I recently, my friend turned me on to Dr. Mandel. Do you know him? This guy, he does these acupressure points. And I've been listening to this stuff and all this like really, really simple stuff, like, putting your fingers gently in your ears and just kind of like swirling them around right on the edge, and it like activates all these parts of your brain and the vagus nerve, and do these really freaking simple things to tell the nervous system that it's safe. And I think now so I was talking about this too with the hypnosis, which I didn't stick with. I just started saying like, I am safe, I am peace, all this around like the teeth grinding and just like the nervous system and all the ways that we've been holding tensions, especially as we've been going through the dark, our dark soul retrieval trek, which for some of us has lasted like 10 years, or somewhere up to there. And so, but yeah, now being a point, because we're stabilizing in the new, even if we don't know it, to work with our nervous systems, taking oat straw, doing things because it's going to work now. If we're constantly reenacting the trauma and that type of stuff through our healings, it's like, well, sometimes you just got to be a live wire for a decade or so. But now it's like, all these things coming in, letting us know that we are anchoring despite what it feels like, and working with that nervous system. And I just love these simple like 20-second acupressure movements, things before bed to help you sleep, like just like communicating with the nervous system through certain points that hook up with your brain and all these other things. And so that just feels really amazing. And so I just talked for a half hour. I feel like I think I said everything that wanted to come out. So I'm going to move into the cards now. Let's see what else wants to be said around these energies. Okay, yeah, that's beautiful. So otter spirit, you are never alone. And that's a 6, 4 and 2 adding up into a 6. 6 is always the energy for me of anchoring the higher down on the earth. So that's what we're doing now. We're anchoring down. And this message has come up for me recently where it's like, you are never alone. You've never been alone. Like for those of us that are coming out of, a lot of us are just wrapping up or have recently come out of the shadow work, the really dark treks, and that you're close to coming out if you feel like you're never going to get out. If it's like so dark and you're having like the biggest identity crisis you've ever had, you don't know who you are, you don't know how to move forward, that you're buried in the ground, and that compression is going to crack your seed, and you're going to start to come back up. And it's the same thing when you come up and when you come out. You're going to be different because in that depth, you're osmosing and you're doing that soul retrieval where you're reuniting with your parts. So it's like this, like these were separate for a little while, and you felt that you were alone because you didn't have all of your pieces together. But in those dark treks, so again, celebrate them, because that's where you get your pieces back. That's when you bring things back together. That's when you can start to feel the truth, which is that we're never alone. Because everything is unified. Alone implies separation, and it's not. So those dark treks bringing it all back home. Also the otter, the otter energy is very playful, and there's no competition in this. It's again, the unified field. So you're not, it's not the energy of trying to stand out to be somebody like me. Like I have no desire to be anybody. I'm not, I curse, I'm vulnerable, I interrupt myself. It's like, I'm not polished. I don't want to be polished. I don't want to have proper lighting or background or any fancy thing. Like I just want to be raw and real and talking about the energies, translating the energies that we're in. And I don't care about being perfect. And, so it's like that thing of like, we're all together in this. We're all forging the way, versus the old energy of needing to be important or needing to be somebody or needing to have it all polished and together, right? Like moving out of that separation and into the unity. Okay. So let me pull a little bit more here. Move into some tarot. The King of Earth. Oh, that's interesting. So there's another sort of anchoring type of energy where we're anchoring our unique version of all that is down onto the earth. We're not playing out the program. We're not abandoning ourselves so that we can fit into what is, again, the importance. Like you got to be somebody. You can't lay in your bed all day in your pajamas, or whatever it is that our souls want us to do to help us integrate. You got to be out there, making a living or whatever. And it's like, That's the old way, right? So anchoring, sometimes the king of earth represents that. He represents the old way, but in this reading, he's representing the anchoring of the new way, which is honoring where you're at in any given moment, and honoring your soul, and honoring, and not abandoning yourself and separating from yourself and living from the program, but living through your unique expression, which comes through in every now moment, through the guidance and the urges, through what you feel to do or not do, and listening to that. So wow, a lot of energy around around this new, yeah, which we're acclimating into. It's almost like my daughter and I used to call it the blackout, like when you're finally where you want to go, where you've been like, again, the bridging and sort of the like weaving the network and the astral, when it finally starts to fleshing out in your life, it's almost like you can't register it. It's like a blackout. Like you're so in it. You're so in it that you and it feels completely natural, because you know why? Because you're matched to it. It's like you're merged with the energy of it. So then it just kind of births through you, where you almost can't track it. And I think that's why there's sort of this like void feeling. It's not really a void. It's an embodiment where you're living it. You're living it, where you could pause and look and be like, what am I doing here? But you can't. You're in motion, and that's part of the energy of this new. Okay, interesting. Wow. Okay, so we have the Five of Pentacles and we have the King of Wands. So the Five of Pentacles being surrounded by the King of Wands and the King of Earth, which is really interesting. And both of these having red as well, and her having red as well. So there's kind of this like root chakra anchoring safety type of energy going on. I think this is a little bit part of what's going on with this energy is like what I was just saying. It's like we're so in motion that we can almost not realize that anything's happening, because the King of Wands lives from he's like a divine masculine. He encapsulates the togetherness, where he takes action on his soul guidance, on his instinct. So he listens to his inner feminine energy. He listens to his soul and he takes action on it. He's just a great representation of divine masculine energy. He uses that intuitive crown spark to guide him forward. And also instinctual energy there with the cat, and sort of like Africa feeling, very embodied, very on the earth, in the moment. And then in between that, and then him as well being, anchoring it down, bringing that down here, is this feeling of like not having, like nothing's happening, nothing's going to work out, I'm losing, I'm lacking. This is very much the old energy. This is what we've been living in. And especially for those of us that have been going through the dark nights of the soul and going through the soul retrievals and the trials, you can really feel like a loser. You feel like nothing's going well. It's like, well, that's because it's time to, be a gnome. It's time to be a dwarf and go down into the caves and get those gems. That's the part of the journey that you're at. It's not about, certainly not about living this representing the condition in this moment, representing the conditioned society and what we're told that we're supposed to be doing. It's like that's dead and gone. That's over. We're not doing that. But then you can kind of feel like, well, but nothing's, but I don't know nothing's really happening in my life. I don't know how to move forward with this. It's like that's sort of that void point energy where we're in between. We're kind of in between. And again, we're sitting in the hot springs, and we are absorbing and we are receiving all this, but we don't realize it. So we think that nothing's happening. Yeah. So it's just kind of indicating that energy. It can feel like nothing's happening, but so much is happening. And we're actually really moving into this energy and into this part of ourself that knows how to do this. Okay, that's interesting. Let's see what else here. Okay. Okay. Corn. So this is a really amazing card. This is like it could be similar to the Sun card in the tarot, the happiest card in the deck, but the corn is not just like, oh, abundance, or oh, growing, or oh, fertility. Corn is like, I guess it could also be like the 10 of Pentacles, which I think of as the lower octave of the Sun card, but where you receive everything, like everything starts to flood in. Okay. So even though it might feel like this, like you're stuck and like nothing's happening, mostly it's just because we're still sort of like, there's still some part of us that wants to, those neural pathways of like wanting to know everything with our minds, or gauging reality based on what it looks like out here, that type of thing. It's like those neural pathways are still kind of firing a little bit, because we've lived that way for a very long time, for lifetimes. And so as we're moving into this energy and we're releasing more into the energetics, out of the head, out of the program, out of the instruction manual, and into the organic energy of the moment, which takes a certain amount of unification, which is what all the dark tricks are for, to get to that unification. So if we're judging ourselves for being in the dark, or for being afraid, or for having these trials, it's like, don't, because that just means that your soul chose unity. Your soul chose to go the whole way. Your soul chose to turn back to that which has been separate, to bring it back in, because that's the creational energy that we're moving into, and how we're anchoring, what we're doing now. And so this is just a huge indicator that we really are in this energy. We really are merging with this, and we have these powers, in a sense, activating inside of us because of the work that we've done. I know a lot of people, and myself included, when you go through the trials and you go through the darkness, and especially in this society with this programming, you can feel like a failure. You can feel like, I used to be like, I had no idea I was such a pussy. Like, I thought I was really brave and really strong, and why am I so afraid? This is like when my activation started, and it was after some of the rogue signals that rode in on some of the things that were being distributed in our on our planet. At that time, there was a lot of fear programs, right? And so again, everything's in service to the light. Bam, yeah. Because those of us that kind of caught that were also here on mission, cleared those programs. But anyway, I was just like, I had no idea that I was so afraid, and I just, what the hell, where's this coming from? And it's like, a lot of it isn't really ours. It's like, if you're empathic, then you're feeling all the fear that nobody else allows themselves to feel, or you're feeling all the feelings that nobody allows themselves to feel. And the point is to feel it, and to allow it to be there, and to like survive it with some aspect of your light intact, so that you can bring it all back home, and just being a fractal of wholeness in a realm that's been very divided, and enough of us like lights around the globe that create a network and a web of holding. So we talk about this a lot, but it's easy to feel like you're a failure, again, with the programming that tells you you're supposed to be productive, and you're supposed to be a certain thing, and all these things. But knowing that if you've gone through that, or if you're going through that, or if you're wrapping that up, that you're one of the warriors, you're one of the ones that signed up to go the whole way, and you're one of those lights and part of that network. And it's something to congratulate yourself on. It's something to be excited about. That's, again, the crazier the better, the darker the better. Throw that gasoline on the fire, because you're really getting some stuff done, and you're strong enough to handle that. And just know, take heed. And I've had a couple readings recently around this. I'm saying it because I know it's collective. Okay, so just sharing that now too, especially because this card came up. If you feel like you're stuck, or you feel like you're not moving, or you're not going anywhere, it's not true. You're actually closer than ever. You're actually here. You're not alone. You're bringing your pieces back together. And it's just that initial, it's like a gateway energy. I'm always talking about those threshold energies. It's like it compresses, and then it just goes. It just dissolves. And that dissolving phase is kind of where we're at right now, where it's like, I don't have a form. It's like me with the shape shifting, where I was like, where am I? This is weird. It's like you're dissolving, and being okay with that formlessness, because we're used to the structure. We're used to the rules. We're used to the, go to the whoever for the information, right? Allowing that, being okay with that, because in that is part of that osmosis, where you're suspended, you have all this space, and then this, you can merge with all that is unity consciousness, that telepathic grid, where we're all tuning into this field, into this realm, and anchoring. So just knowing that the darkness, the death needs to happen, the dissolution, like the caterpillar, it turns into liquid, right, before it becomes butterfly. But this is butterfly terrain, and yet there's a little bit of this energy right now. So let me pull a little bit more. I do feel that relates to the roots that we're getting in. We're going into some pretty dark, crunchy places, a lot of us. Yeah, and that it's just a strange feeling. It's like the energy's presenting differently than it has been. Okay, so the Magician. So they're major arcana, and it's, I always love in this deck, it's like he has this tattooed on his chest. Like he knows how to do this, just like the caterpillar has the imaginal discs. We talk about this a lot, but again, things are cyclical. So it's like we might be in an energy of death, and then it comes up, and then there's the harvest, and so we're talking about things along the wheel. So we revisit these topics and some of these themes, but it's always different because we're evolving. So each time we do a crunch, collect individually and collectively, we expand a little more. And as you come around that side of the wheel from a new level of expansion, the energy's more integrated. It's different, it's different, but might be the same word. So again, the imaginal disc, he has this tattooed on his chest. You came here for this. Your soul knows what it's doing. You can trust this. But the Magician is also, it's mastery. It's like, so this coming out after the corn card and coming out right underneath the otter spirit, you are never alone. It's like, you're merged. When you're merged, because that's what the Magician is. He has access. He knows how to use fire. He knows how to use water. He's that shapeshifter. Again, he's the shapeshifter. So we've been talking about this too, where you effortlessly flow into whatever you need to be for the highest for that situation. Maybe sometimes you need to be really loving. Maybe sometimes you need to be cold-hearted bitch and call it like it is, but it's still for the highest good of all concerned. And so the Magician knows how to fluidly and effortlessly move through the different elements and through the different archetypes for magic, to create the alchemy and the clearing, or the activation, or the alignment, or the inspiration. He's a shapeshifter, and he has everything at his disposal. Why? Because he's merged with all that is, and that's what this is too. It's like this is where everything's together. You're never alone because you're never separate, because everything is together. So this is the energy that we're actually, as weird as it might feel, this is actually the energy that we're in right now. We're osmosing it. We are the magicians. We just might not know it yet. Or we might know it, but we just needed to commune together to anchor it and to validate it, to confirm it, right? Okay. So we got 2 cards here. Let's see what these are. Oh, interesting. Ha, ha, wow. Oh my gosh. So first of all, we got this in the last reading. Remember, it was the last card. It was deep diving, and it was like time to go down. What a great dark time of the year. Well, I guess if you're in Australia or on the other side of the world, it's not, but anyway, for some of us, this applies and matches the time of the year, but deep diving, we got this deep diving into a task where it was like, you can't avoid the depths. You can't avoid the dark places. I mean, you can, but then, it's like, if you want to have everything, you got to go the whole way down to your bottom. And we've been going down and going down, but then it's like, can you go a little deeper? Can you go a little deeper? Because the deeper and the darker and the scarier it gets, the higher you get to integrate. That's how you're anchoring the higher places that you're also connected to. That's how you integrate them both into your being. You have to do both in order to have both. Otherwise, it's just light, which is false light. True light is both. True light is everything. True light is wholeness. And so they've gotten separated out, and that's where all the false light comes from, because it's only the light, and you deny the dark, and you shove it away, and you want to just be on the mountaintop, but you gotta do both. You gotta do. So that's what that end of that reading was. It's like, you just can't avoid that. Okay. So that's underneath the King of Earth. So again, it's like, how do we anchor this energy down on the planet here? We got to go down. We got to go down into those places that haven't had light. We anchor the light onto the planet by going into the dark. The earth is mud and blood and an earthquake and catastrophe and death and all these things. So we have to bring ourselves down into all those things. We can't avoid those places in ourselves or in our ancestry or on the planet. We don't, it's not like a head thing where you go seek them out and go to horrible things. It's like, it's like Durga. She's like, come on, it's time to go. And instead of saying no, and then Kali has to come and cut your head off, you're like, okay, let's go. I'll get my tiger too. We'll ride them together. And you choose to go down because you're being called, right? Like, I remember I was in this relationship, and I needed this relationship because it was after my marriage. Well, it was a little ways after my marriage, and my marriage was just all like dark angel, like crazy, crazy dark stuff. And so I had this super light fun. We would dance, we would cook, we would make love. We were just like, it was just a shit ton of false light, but it was really great. And I needed it, I needed a break. And he was just wonderful for me at that time. But I was starting to feel the call, the Durga, most of my decisions that I've made, my big decisions I've made off of dream guidance. And so if I'm unsure of what to do, I'm like, okay, well, I'll wait till I have a dream. And I always do have a dream eventually, sometimes very soon after. And so I was sort of feeling this like call, and I wasn't sure what to do about this relationship because it was just the best relationship I'd ever had. It was just so nice. And but I had this dream that there was like this pond, and I kept getting pulled over to this pond in this murky water, and he was just kind of like walking down, just hippieing out, walking down the desert lane, and he didn't even see the pond. And I wanted to keep walking with him, so I was putting like these pallets on top of it and trying to like stay with him, and they just were sinking. And so I just stayed in the pond and I let him walk on by. And the next day I ended it because I knew that I needed to go and I needed to do some cleanup. It was time. And so I did that. So that kind of thing, right? Being called, when we're called, we need to listen, and we might be. So this next card is Lost in Space. And that's a 9 card. This is a 10 card. So this is the card of completion. But before we complete, is the 9. And the 9 is about perseverance. And it's like, yeah, it's hard. You're in the tunnel. You're in the dark. But keep going, because on the other side of that is this, and it's for humanity. It's for all of us. It's not just like, oh, you get something, it's not about getting things. It's about fulfilling our missions and coming back into unity, and then co-creating on this planet as intended to bring it into to what this age, this point in human evolution is intended to be. And we're all playing our parts. Okay. But we can feel, so this is coming out underneath this. So there it is, the 5 of Pentacles and the Lost in Space, where it's like, keep going. You're not actually lost. You just kind of feel that way. You are lost in space, but you're not lost. It's like you're lost in space, you're caterpillar soup, but that's because that's just the nature of this process. You go into the dark and you dive down and you do your alchemy and you get all your pieces. And then after that, you just feel kind of lost. You don't know who the fuck you are. You're having an identity crisis. You don't know, you can't do any of the things that you used to do. Like I tried to go to the co-op yesterday, and earlier, like this woman and I, we both, checkout lady, we were both making a duck for Christmas. And I did try to make a duck before. We had them on the ranch, and I totally messed it up. And so I was making this duck, and my son and I were going to make the duck together, and it was going to be this great thing. But me and this girl were really nervous. I don't know why I'm going into this, but it's fun. Personal stories are fun, but we were really nervous about making this duck. This girl and I. And so we were like, okay, I'll see you on the other side. We'll see how it goes. So my duck turned out really great. It turned out really great. We did all the scoring, and there were a couple spots that we missed that were really disgusting and rubbery, but for the most part, it was good. So I go in and I'm like, how did your duck turn out? And she's like, oh, I chickened out. I ducked out. I didn't do it. But I really wanted to know. I really wanted to have this conversation with her, but I was in this weird, like, lost in space thing, and it's like my throat was contracting, and I couldn't speak, and I was just like weird and awkward, and like I get like that a lot, like when I needed to go down and get some food, but when my soul and my body just wants to be quiet, wants to be integrating, it's like it's just. I just get really weird and non-functional, and I've learned not to judge myself for that, because it's like it's fine. I'm doing these other things, But that's the thing. It's like and that's probably why I brought up that story. It's like when you are in that space and you feel really awkward and you feel really non-functional, you can judge yourself. But just knowing, it's just like with the dark, when you're in the dark and you feel like you might die or go insane, or like you're never going to get out, you're actually in your power the most, because that's your courage and that's your bravery and that's your mission. You signed up to do this, where others can't or won't or didn't sign up for that. It's not their role. They're not here on the assistance team. I think everyone who watches these is, to some degree, or fully, and so you're most in your power in those moments. And it's the same thing when we're lost like this, where we don't know. It's like it's just such a necessary part. It's the void, it's the birthing, and so it's just kind of showing the cycle and the phases here. Okay, let me I guess I'll do this one. My hand went to it. All right, what are we at? 52 minutes. So yeah, we're almost towards the end here. Focus. Oh, Artemis, focus. Interesting. That's interesting because here we have this sort of like lost in space type of energy. These are different decks, but they're kind of similar with like the way she's holding this. What is she holding? It's like she's holding the earth. Yeah. She's holding the new earth, she's kind of birthing this new thing. And same thing with her, it's like she's focusing. And I feel the focus is sort of that perspective. So again, the creation of our realities, we could tell the story of like, oh, I'm lost, or oh, I'm depressed, or oh, I'm, something negative, or we can tell the story of we're actually birthing this new earth, and we're setting our sights on that. We're focusing on that. 4 is a card of safety and stability. I often get, when I was clearing my fear programs and going through all that, I kept seeing 4s, and they would often link up with songs that would be singing about like angels and protection, and then it'd be like 444 on the clock. And so it's come to mean safety and protection to me. Looks like my cat was eating this. There's teeth marks in this card. Okay. That's new. That's interesting. But anyway, a little Lyran love there. Yeah. Focusing. It's been our focus for a very long time. Speaking of Lyran and cats and the galactic energy, this is remembering why we're here, remembering what we're doing, focusing on the mission. So yeah, when we dissolve or we crumple on the floor, or we feel like losers compared to what the society is saying, we didn't come here for the society. We came here. And again, that's him, that's the King of Wands. He's here on mission. He listens to his inner knowing, and he takes action on it. He has his polarities intact. So remembering that that's the name of the game, and that's what it's about. And there are many phases, again, just like this, he has the fire and the water and all the different archetypes. And again, it's like that, the unity. Remember, this is the unity where we're embracing everything. Everything has its place. So the darkness has its place, the dissolving has its place, the identity crisis has its place. It's all part of the wholeness and the harmonization of things coming back together, and allowing it all and trusting it all. And a lot of why we feel uncomfortable is just the conditioning and letting go of those neural pathways of self-judgment, or gaslighting yourself, or worrying about what other people think, right? Especially when they're kind of coming at you, right? We're being tested to come even stronger into our alignment and to our focus, no matter what, even if somebody else might be judging us for this, like, why aren't you, what are you doing? Whatever that is, that judgment from partners or whomever. I don't know. I'm not having that particular experience. I'm having other ones, but yeah, just knowing that we do things differently, right? We do things differently because we're here to anchor the new, and honoring that, and honoring that our journeys are different. They're different than what we're seeing in the world, where they're different than what we've been conditioned to believe. And even if we know that, when you're in this space, it's those things get kicked up. They get kicked up, and we can beat ourselves up, and we can turn on ourselves. But even that is part of the program, because then we get to confront that, and we get to hold space for ourselves and clear that energy as well. So a lot of it is about clearing fear programs, clearing conditioning, clearing the lack and limitation conditioning that we've had. So, okay, I'm going to do one last card. I think I'll end on my Slavic Tarot. This little deck here. What do we get? Oh, that's so beautiful. So, all right. So the 3 of Cups, this is us. This is the soul family. This is those of us that resonate with these readings and with these words and with what comes through. We're on this mission together, and we're celebrating. Look, we're celebrating underneath the corn, because this is what we're doing. This is what we've done. This is what we've done through all of the struggles, throughout our lifetimes, throughout our childhoods. A lot of us are seeing the perfection in it all, and seeing the cosmic setup, and even because that's the thing. It's like we're going into some of the darkest trials. We're going into some of the patterns that led to the darkest trials. For me, a lot of my patterns of self-abandonment, I almost said self-abortion, that's probably true too, led me into really, really, really dark trials, right? But it's like, but what we're seeing as we're facing some of these things that we've sort of just like shut the door on, or like we needed to shut the door on it. We were talking about this recently. We need to shut the door on it so that we can heal and get strong in our light. And then once we do that, we go back in so that we can hold ourselves through those memories or those energies while we have a big resource and connection to our divinity, right? And so a lot of those deep dives connect us to our divinity. But then when we do the deepest one, right, where we really resolve it all, we're should I forgot my train of thought? Well, you know what I'm getting at. That's where we really come into wholeness, where we really feel our power. So a lot of us doing that right now at the same time, and that's clearing the way, clearing out everything that's in the way, coming into this unity, and then this being very much in the energy right now because of the work that some of us are doing in these trials at this time, going down to the bottom. So a lot of different themes with this. Again, going to the roots, that harmonization, the boundaries that are helping us to stabilize in that energy, because it is the energy of the new, and it is what we're here for, and what we're bringing down, what we're anchoring down on the earth now. And what we need to preserve and defend and protect, so that boundaries around our needs, so that we can fulfill the mission that we came here to do, as we're starting to remember what it is, as we're facing those dark parts. And that's what I was going to say. I remember seeing the cosmic setup in all of it, seeing like, oh, this needed to happen, so this could happen, and this needed to happen, so this could happen, so this could happen, and all those trials, being able to embrace it as part of your divine sacred journey, as we're nearing this wholeness right now. So really powerful energy. Thank you for listening. I hope that I was coherent. I will go back and listen and see if I was. There was just a lot of different levels at once, but I know that most of you that listen do circles as well. You speak circles. You speak and live and exist multidimensionally as well. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of the team. I'm so glad that we found each other through YouTube. If you're new and you're resonating with this, being on this path together, and also through Facebook and all the posts and all the synchronicities and all the communion that we're doing, being part of a soul family, part of a shared mission together. Some of us playing slightly different parts, but in congruence. And so also, if you are in town or passing through town and you would like an in-person reading or an energy work session, please reach out. Also, I do FaceTime readings and also pre-recorded readings. If you want, some people just want like a straight channel. Some people want to like engage, and then we kind of like do work in that way, anchoring energy. And some people just want a straight channel where I just kind of like go off the cards in the energy, and then it's pre-recorded and you can have it and listen that way. So those being options. And also, if you are relating and resonating, I always love to hear the synchronicities or any sharing that you feel inspired to do, because I feel like it helps anchor energy, and just build this field as well even more. So anyway, okay, well, I will see you next time if I do. Much love.